Hello, welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is October 11th, and we're doing social and business is mostly sad. Sorry.
And we have a confirmation of something that I think all thinking human beings already had an idea of what was happening here and what's going to happen going forward.
Apple confirms a bug that some apps are causing iPhone 15 models to overheat. And by bug, they mean feature, because the models look much better than the last models because it looks better in benchmarks. That heat is going to performance. It's not a bug. It goes fast. What's the fix? You slow it down. If you slow it down, it's going to be about as fast as an iPhone 14. Can't have that.
But it'll be nice and cool. Be the same experience as before, and you'll just get used to it. Now, they blamed it on some unoptimized apps, but they were some pretty common apps. Uber was one of them. Instagram. I imagine a lot of people running Instagram on their iPhones. And Asphalt 9, the racing game, which I've not heard of.
I've never heard of that either.
Look how much faster before and after update. I hope somebody's getting some benchmark numbers of that game. It's going to be a bloodbath.
And Intel is still trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with their future. They are probably getting a little bit uncomfortable with the amount of monopoly and antitrust litigation that's going on. So they might be trying to get ahead of that.
Intel plans to IPO its programmable chip unit within 3 years, and the stock rises after hours. This is good. This is the Programmable Solutions Group. They're spinning it off as its own thing. Intel really should have done exactly the same thing with networking. Their OmniPath stuff went to Cornelis Networks, which is a totally separate entity. And OmniPath is actually not terrible. It's actually really good for what it is. And I'm surprised. I was surprised when I got some OmniPath gear off of eBay and started digging into it. It's a perfectly reasonable alternative to InfiniBand. And Intel was like, oh, it's not better than InfiniBand. We don't want it. It's like, come on, guys, come on.
And if, unlike everybody else in this economy, you are just flush with cash and you're looking to throw it away on something that really makes a statement in your home.
Cooler Master's sneaker gaming PC sells for $37.99. I think I'd rather have Cooler Master's orb gaming chair thing. It's also in that $4,000 to $5,000 range where you can just, climb in the pod and recline and have screens in your eyeballs.
Yeah, but you get a lot more for your money there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Michael Jordan, maybe LeBron James buying this, but everybody else, I don't understand why.
Some people are super into sneakers, which I find an odd thing to be into, but whatever.
Now, you might think for that price tag, you're going to get all top level stuff. Well, not quite. You're going to get the 13700K and the 4070 Ti. So not even top of the line stuff inside this beauty.
You cannot cram a 4090 into a sneaker. There's no way.
I guess you could just make it bigger, but...
Yeah, is this a scale sneaker?
There's
There's no banana in the photo.
Yeah, they don't have a... Let's see if they give us a scale photo.
I'm guessing that's a 120 millimeter fan on the side, so it's probably like 2x reality. That's a size 25 shoe.
Yeah, I like it to imagine it's huge. Like,
it's... I mean, you got to fit a motherboard in there. So.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like, from this angle, it just looks like a robot foot, right? Like a transformer foot.
It's a Hulkbuster foot. In order for the Hulkbuster to operate, it requires two 14900Ks, one in each foot.
It's a wallet buster. And you know what? If you were dedicated and you just developed a little skills, you could 3D print that case easily and save yourself a lot of money and get some nice components and put it in there.
3D printer uses magnets to break the speed limit, printing a table shaking 800 millimeters per second. There was a big 3D printer event. They couldn't actually demo this because it was damaged in shipping. But gosh darn it, it really is insanely fast. So it's using linear motors, which are very fast and very precise. The kind that are used in CNC machining a lot of the time. So this is fun. And this apparently came out as the result of a project during the thing. These people were trapped in a factory. They weren't allowed to leave their factory. So what do you do all day? You start experimenting with linear magnetic motors, obviously.
But I love how the mental disconnect, they're like, yeah, we couldn't leave our factory, but Alibaba still delivered. So we just got parts and played with them. And good things came of it, I suppose. If you are looking to buy a new smartwatch, they have a new offering here that's not the Apple version.
Pixel Watch 2 adds new sensors, longer battery life, and better accuracy.
New sensors means a whole bunch of new telemetry that's going into that advertising profile. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I don't really. So my smartwatch is the Garmin Venue 2, and I don't really like how much telemetry is collected from it that it tries to share without my permission. That it has some trouble sharing because steps that I've taken. But this is as far as I can tell, this is superior to Mom's Apple Watch in every way. The doctors had her get an Apple Watch to keep an eye on her, and she has to charge it every other day. I only have to charge mine about once a week.
You know, it's unrelated to watches, but it made me think of it. You know how Amazon does that? Like, hey, you can get this 75-inch TV for $150, but we don't have that many of them, so sign up and we'll let you know if you get picked. I was looking at that, and on that page for the Fire TV, they now have a little checkbox, and it's like, want to save extra? We'll go ahead and connect this Amazon account with a TV before we ship it to you.
That's dark.
That is dark. And a lot of people in the comments of those TVs is like, here's how you take it apart to disable the microphone. That's the only way to actually disable the microphone. And that is because we're not allowed to control the devices that we have. And that is no more apparent than here.
DIY tinkerer invents a MacBook tool that breaks Apple's repair locks. Well, one of them. This is an angle sensor, but the angle sensor apparently is not actually very sophisticated, and it doesn't have fingerprinting, very good fingerprinting or anything like that. So, and Louis Rossman's involved here, and so, you know, Louis Rossman's point is, okay, Apple says they do this for user security, so either they're very bad at user security because some randos like us are able to deal with this, or that it's a bunch of hogwash BS from Apple. That it sounds good to say that it's about security, but Apple is actually lying to you to the level that I would say is fraud. They're trying to defraud you to convince you that this is a $1,000 repair, when in reality, this chip is like $1.50.
Now you have to calibrate that angle sensor. And if you don't do that, your experience is going to be terrible because it's not going to know what the angle of the screen is.
It doesn't know when it's closed.
And it'll keep the screen and the battery running and the fans on, which will run your battery out. So the argument from Apple is, well, we have to do it because there's a communication between the laptop and the sensor and the screen that we have to get right. What they learned was all the information you need is in the sensor itself. The laptop doesn't have any part of that equation. So that has been a lie.
This is like your water shut-off valve in your house. It's like, oh, we need to make sure that the handle, when it's at a 90-degree angle, your water is shut off. And it's like, yeah, but I can just do that myself. No, that's not safe.
That's illegal.
Do you have a license for that?
Apple would like for that to be illegal, yeah. Apple would like to have their handout to be a part of that transaction, which to me is obviously interfering with commerce between two parties, which is sacrosanct, at least in American culture. It's supposed to be.
And here's something that's not illegal, but should it be? And hopefully, even though it's not illegal, they will still suffer from it because of this class action lawsuit. However, we know that will not ever benefit the people who actually suffered.
HP has failed to derail claims that it bricks scanners on multifunction printers when the ink runs low. So this class action lawsuit is going to proceed.
They also have some interesting statistics in here on these same machines, where if you don't print regularly, to keep the print heads clean, you know, it does the maintenance and just dumps it into the sponge. You will get, if you print one page a month, you will get less than 20% of the ink that you buy. The rest will be dumped into the sponge. And the last few years have definitely showcased a lot of people spending money on stupid things. That's not new. Humans have done that forever. But, you know, we saw the NFTs and all this other garbage. And you wonder, who is doing this? Who's making these terrible decisions?
Apple declares its $17,000 solid gold watch officially obsolete, ending repairs and servicing.
If you're the kind of person who can afford $17K for something stupid like this, you probably don't even care. Whatever, I'll buy a new one.
It's not like there's something that's really egregiously offensive about a watch, because historically, like, you could have an heirloom watch. Like I have a pocket watch that is from like 4 generations back in my family that was like, here, you did something really amazing. Have this pocket watch. And it's perfectly reasonable to service that pocket watch. A lithium battery in a $17,000 Apple Watch bordering on 100 years old is it would have already burst into flames.
But it doesn't matter because the software doesn't work.
Yeah.
So many reasons. But you say that, Krista, but there's a group of people or class of people who are doing like the Instagram lifestyle. They don't have the money, but they need to appear that they do. I could totally see somebody like that paying 17 grand for a watch just to keep up the illusion.
In my case,
crazy
the
to me.
pocket watch has actually held its value really well. You know, even with inflation and everything else, it's actually appreciated just very slightly.
That's jewelry's that way too. A lot of times families would buy like nice jewelry for their daughters when they got married and stuff. And then if things really go badly, you sell the jewelry to get out of the marriage.
Well, we see these companies making some slight concessions in this kind of thing because it's so egregious and it's so awful. And Lenovo is the latest to step up to that plate.
Lenovo PC boss, 4 in 5 of our devices will be repairable by 2025. So, well, this is a lot of headlines to just say Lenovo is going all in. They say they are on repairability and being good for the environment. I guess they saw the Apple event keynote and said, well, we can out-Apple because that's not going to be hard in terms of environmental responsibility and repairability. So they appear to be giving it an earnest go.
But what we've seen from Apple and Samsung show that you can say that
Yeah.
and then tiptoe your way around it, never really make any reasonable changes.
Or in Apple's case, actually deliberately go the opposite direction.
And perhaps Mr. Elon Musk has introduced a new way to make everything less repairable, or at least everything in the automotive industry. And others are looking at it and saying, yes, we want that.
Toyota will adopt Tesla-style cast bodies that might be impossible to fix. But something that I didn't understand from the article is the Tesla cast bodies, it's the entire car, where it seems like what Tesla is, or what Toyota is doing here is like the front, middle, and back of the car is 3 pieces as opposed to being 88.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. The argument against it, according to, who is this, The Drive, is that when this breaks, you don't have a lot of solutions in terms of fixing that.
Well, Toyota's solution, if your car's in thirds, now it can, you remember the Pimp My Rides where it was so bad that they like welded 2 cars together and it was just like, we can't even get this certified under California law.
Yeah, so buy a new one. That's the thing. They've also pointed out that apparently some people are reporting some really egregious quality control on those Tesla
Yeah.
what do they call them? Giga something?
Giga casting.
Giga casting.
Yeah. It's like Gigacast can have a little bit of cracks. It's like, I don't know.
It got a little cold last night and now your thing cracked. Oops.
And the Apple case continues to rage on, and we continue to get more and more bombshells from that.
The headline is Apple considering switching to DuckDuckGo from Google for Safari. This is Reuters and Bloomberg News reporting on what we reported on already last week, but there's some more details from the court case. But this is what we were saying last week. And the people from Microsoft in their testimony around this said, no, the biggest benefit with Bing existing has actually been to Google to get more money out of Apple because we exist, which I thought was pretty funny.
And in the world of email, there are things that you can do to guarantee that like a message comes from the domain that people claim it comes from, and clean up all the various spams by making people on the sending end prove that they are who they say they are. Google has ignored that up until now.
Google is making big changes to prevent Gmail spam.
So the craziest thing here is your spam rate, if it goes to 0.3%, they might shut you off entirely. It makes me feel a little bit better about that report spam button, which seems to do nothing.
And we'll probably realistically continue to do nothing.
You'll also have to put in all the various things, and you'll have to confirm your domain, which all transactional email services already make you do that. So if you're just using Gmail for spam, those days are coming to an end. They have also decided to add a new feature to Gmail, which is just astonishing when you remember that email operates in a plain text format, which doesn't include emojis.
Google unleashes email emoji reactions onto an unsuspecting world. Gmail users can reply with emoji. Everybody else will get an additional email.
That would drive me absolutely
Can
insane.
you
Like,
imagine?
yeah.
You get an email and you immediately get another email that's just a happy face.
Ugh.
What a bad idea. That's worse than
What if
the
you just get a laughing face?
that's worse than the green bubble, blue bubble, right? It's an even more egregious feature. Use our email or else get extra emails.
I like the old days. Like, remember when Outlook was new and people would reply with the textured background in emails and it would happily bring that through?
The entire thread.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, they would have like a polka dot or like the confetti background with colors and it was borderline unreadable.
We got some people that still do that.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And get ready to purchase all of your Nintendo games again.
Nintendo will take 3DS and Wii U services offline in early April 2024. You'll still be able to re-download games and get patches for the foreseeable future. Well,
Do not test me further, mortal.
until April 2024, I would guess.
You'll be able to re-download your games on these devices, but not on new devices that Nintendo sells. Seems like they could just have a consolidated store.
Man, if only those devices had a memory card slot that would hold a memory card large enough to just put those ancient games that are 20, 30 years old on, that you could just play them on whatever.
Or, God forbid, emulate the old devices now that they're no longer difficult to do. And here's a feature that I hope no one is using because it's disgusting and it's being thrust upon us and we don't want it.
Microsoft overhauls OneDrive with a big new design, AI Copilot integration, and more.
What do you think, Krista? Let's take a look at some of them.
I don't like it. Just because I don't like using OneDrive.
One of the big things is collaboration. Like if you have shared files, it tries to figure that out and let you know when other people are working on files so you can work on files together.
I love working on files together.
That's not frustrating at all.
Look at the green folder.
Oh, I actually did use that feature recently for one of our editors. I was like, it's the pink folder. And she was like, okay.
I guess it's okay. Kind of going a bit of a Google look.
Yeah, it feels very Gmail to me. But that's probably good because it's easy to understand for most people.
And Microsoft will continue to steal all of your data. In this case, your backup files. And you say to me, well, I didn't set up a backup, so they're not going to steal my files. Oh, yes, they will.
You can't get rid of it, but you can only hide it. Microsoft imposes controversial Windows backup on users. And I was reading this and I was thinking, what possible controversy could there be in Windows backup? Everybody should have a backup utility. I was like, I'm going to plug in a USB hard drive and I'm going to hit the backup software and be like, hey, back up this computer to this hard drive. No, that's not how that works at all. It only backs up to the cloud. It only backs up to your Microsoft account. It doesn't do anything for you unless it does it in a way that can just harvest and mine your stuff. You can't use it to just back up to a drive.
And only to OneDrive. And only a Microsoft account, not an Azure account. So if you're using Windows with an Azure account, this just won't work. But it'll still be there. It'll still get downloaded.
Someone is weed eating right outside the window. Hopefully you guys don't hear that.
Probably these mics will not get that, right? Or
They'll definitely get it.
it's pretty loud.
Definitely hear that.
Oh, it is picking it up.
There's not even much grass.
No.
There's a minimal amount of grass.
Literally just cracks in the sidewall. That's all they're doing.
I like that he kind of like stops and then he starts again too.
Well, if you're thinking there's nothing more annoying than that grinding noise in my ears right now, just wait because this might make you a little bit more angry.
Netflix is planning to raise prices again.
I like how the weed eater, it's almost like it was responding.
Yeah, it got a little louder there.
What?
This is because the writer strike's over, so obviously.
Well, it's not over yet, but they have announced that when it is over, they will raise the price.
That and the Actors Guild is still striking, I think.
I'm still probably waiting for everything to settle down.
Yeah. But they already got rid of the thing where you can share accounts, so who still has Netflix? I guess a lot of people, but
Oh, you remember the user
Yeah.
base went up. And Spotify is still trying to figure out new things to add to their service to get you to go there.
Spotify is adding auto-generated transcripts to millions of podcasts. Maybe that'll help SEO or something else.
It's going to be AI generated. They will also let you put in timestamps and add context. So like if you're watching Joe Rogan or listening to Joe Rogan, and he's like, Jamie, pull up this image. He has the option to go into his transcript and put the image in the transcript.
Neat.
And we all know that game developers or game developer software has a bit of a black eye recently. Unity has betrayed the trust. And so some of the other people in that area are desperately trying to get ahead of their own disaster.
Epic Games to update the Unreal Engine pricing for devs outside the game industry. Unreal Engine is being used in the motion graphics and visual effects industries, for example. Mobile computing, AR and VR. It's not really games, so how do you price that?
Per seat. So instead of, based on how many sales you get or how many installs you get, it's going to be how many people are sitting down using this software. He compares it to Adobe because everybody loves that pricing scheme so much.
I still hope he wins his lawsuit against Apple.
And that whole, like software subscription, software as a service, monthly, it's awful. And it's bad. If you're doing Adobe type stuff, then it's not like it's mission critical, right? We get some, things aren't designed as well. But when you apply it to something that's literally going to get people killed, you have to think about it a little bit more.
Lockheed CEO pitches Pentagon on subscription software. Listen, this 10-year-old attack-him is going to need this USB unlock key, and it's just slag without it. I'm sorry.
Your helicopter's out of range of the Wi-Fi, and it just...
So they brought that up, right? Like, how am I going to get software updates if I'm in Kandahar? And he was like, oh, don't worry, because 5G military spec is another thing that we're working on, and that's going to be totally dependable in any combat situation.
Who would believe that?
I don't.
Who's dumb enough to believe that?
I want to return to where the U.S. military is just doing crazy stuff to make insanely portable modular infrastructure. Like, remember the 1970s where it's like there's not a town here, and then overnight there was a town and infrastructure with like sewage and power lines and houses. Like, they just show up and it's just, and then there's infrastructure. We need that. We need to be able to put in dams and roads and power transformers at the drop of a hat. If we have a Carrington event, I would love to see our military budget. It's like, in case of Carrington event, that's plan 137A. Here's how we're going to spring into action. The Army Corps of Engineers is going to do all this stuff. That would be amazing. We got crates and crates of Jeeps that are just ready to go in case of such an event.
I like to imagine that they've probably workshopped that at some point, whether they've actually prepared for it.
It seems unlikely.
I prefer to go back to the 1930s when we didn't give the military all of our money.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about the AT&T building. There's a bunch of AT&T buildings, but there's a long distance telecommunications building in New York City that's just all concrete and stuff. AT&T built it because it was the responsible thing to do. It's like, in case of some sort of attack, we need to make sure that our telecommunications infrastructure is maintained. Do you think there's any ISP doing that today?
You would think, considering we've had attacks in the recent history, but
I don't think that's the thing that happens. If only we use some of our budget to do that.
Well, Amazon is using some of their budget, or they were, for something that it greatly increased their profitability. But is this kind of thing maybe just a touch illegal?
Amazon reportedly used a secret, quote unquote, algorithm to jack up prices. I'd love to have the memo emails from this one, a la the Google memo emails from the episode on Monday.
they're embarrassing. Don't show anybody.
Perhaps we will. So Project Nessie, what did it do? Well, it would just gently raise prices, and then it would monitor. For the example they use here is like Target. So like, hey, we sell this product, so does Target. Bump ours up and see if Target also bumps theirs up. And it doesn't, not just one, but it would monitor all the retailers. If everybody followed Amazon's lead, then it was like, bump it again. And it wasn't until one of the other retailers pushed back and they're like, no, we can't go that high. Then Amazon would settle back down to that price. So it's kind of like the rental thing, except in this case, there was no collusion. The other retailers didn't know that they were part of it. It was secret.
Do you think it was called Project Nessie because it's like a fictional monster that lives beneath the deep?
Probably because it was like, if anybody ever finds out about this, we're done. So it has to be as secret as
Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, literally the feds are of the mind that like, hey, you're doing this, that's not a thing. That's a fining.
That's why they called MK Ultra MK Ultra, because MK designated that it was the special services branch that did it, and Ultra meant this has to be the most ultra secret thing in the world because we're going to do some really unbelievable crap in this program. And Apple is doing some unbelievable crap once again, trying to go after the repairmen.
Apple threatens Colombian mobile phone repairman with jail time. And it's like, this is obviously a clickbait incendiary headline, but as far as I can tell, is completely accurate.
So what is this guy's crime? He is using the word Apple and maybe the Apple logo on social media where he has a ton of followers because he fixed Apple devices. And they're saying that causes confusion. You are not associated with Apple. And if you don't stop, we're going to come after you with this Colombian law, which has a maximum sentence of 4 years.
Jail time just seems crazy. I would think a cease and desist would be fine, but
It's like you're not allowed to say that you repair Apple devices unless you're Apple authorized.
And he says, I would like to be Apple authorized, but you don't have a program for that in Colombia. And as far as I know, they haven't responded.
you win this time, repairman.
At Ubisoft, it's been a while since we've seen an Ubisoft scandal. And this is from the old scandals, but it seems that maybe the old scandals were much worse than we ever thought.
5 former Ubisoft execs arrested following a harassment investigation of the worst nature. Yes.
So
This was in the their French offices.
I think they're a French company, right? That's the main office. So they've been locked up. And it's based on some of these quotes. It wasn't just like one or two guys, doing a little grab ass around the office. It was just like the whole office was expected to go that way.
Read more with unlimited access.
Oh, right. Yes. So we live in a world where gender is a social construct, right? So I don't know where Wired.com gets off assuming all of this.
Men overran a Grace Hopper job fair thing, the Grace Hopper celebration event. Historically, it's been for women in technology, but this year there were an awful lot of people that seemed to be men.
You can't make that
I
judgment.
can't.
It's not allowed. I don't know. I'm guessing that someone will come after this Wired writer, right?
It's also not allowed under federal law, which was briefly mentioned in the article.
Yeah, you're not allowed to just have an event that excludes a gender. But they did. I can't imagine that very many employers went for that, though, right? Wouldn't you be a little put off if you came to the Grace Hopper event and then a bunch of dudes came in?
It's like, is this the actual problem? I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I've definitely witnessed Krista struggle and just is like, is this real life happening right now? Like,
Is this person just being a jerk to her for no reason?
are we suddenly in the 1960s? I don't understand.
Go get me a cigarette doll.
Obviously, she should transition. And Elon Musk, he never runs out of headlines. There are so many about him. He is a popular guy. And he has been going to war with the news organizations.
Elon Musk's X drops headlines from its articles as new report details that it's bleeding ad revenue. Yeah.
What problem does that solve? Like, I just don't understand.
I guess
Why would you want to make it's called mystery meat navigation, where you just have to click on it and guess what it's going to take you to?
But maybe it's not kind of like the ultimate clickbait, right? Like it gets you to click into Twitter instead of just going to the other place.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like if I saw something in my timeline with just an image and it's like, click here to figure out what this is, I'm like, no, I'm not going to click that.
Maybe you scroll down to get context, and that's more engagement.
Maybe.
Well, we also know that he did a foolish name change. It'll always be Twitter to me. But he, as usual, probably didn't do the due diligence that you should do when making massive business decisions.
X Social Media, an ad agency, is suing X, a social media company, because that was formerly the company known as Twitter. Just because Elon Musk owns X.com doesn't mean that, X social media agency loses right to do business as X.
He also, though, like, you can tell it was not well thought out because he tried to, like, open source the logo. He was like, if I change the name to X, would one of you guys make a logo? And it's like, you can't just make branding decisions like that.
He did. I mean,
And it's obviously not working out real well.
Yeah, but you think anything will really happen to him about it? He'll probably pay those people off.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It's hard to feel bad for someone who runs a company called X Social Media. Mm. And Mr. Musk has also been in combat with the ADL. And by all measurements, I believe he has just won.
ADL says that it will resume advertising on X following a feud with Elon Musk. What was the feud? The ADL said that hate speech was increasing, and Elon Musk asked them to show the receipts.
And he claims that they organized boycotts, and he sued them. And I don't know if maybe that lawsuit will go away after this.
I just feel like their algorithm's gotten way worse. It's hard to find interesting stuff on it anymore.
Was it ever easy? Twitter was just a garbage website. And the collapse continues, and we're starting to see it in places that previously were somewhat immune to this type of thing. And you can't help but think that maybe Zuckerberg's grand vision is running out of road here.
Meta to lay off employees in Metaverse Silicon unit on Wednesday. I didn't take this as actually bad news for the Metaverse. It seems like there's a bunch of different business units that were working on different Metaverse related things. And so that was so that Zuckerberg could pick the one that he thought was going to do best. And this was a business unit working on something Metaverse related that maybe didn't do as good as some of the other Metaverse units. And so he's jettisoning this unit so that the other units may be stronger.
We talked about the Epic layoffs last week, right?
Yeah.
So the Epic layoffs were also the Metaverse division.
Yeah.
As Metaverse is kind of crashing, I guess, at this point.
Think less the cartoony torsoless Metaverse and more the Lex Friedman Metaverse. So like the Lex Friedman Metaverse team survives. This Metaverse team did not. Sorry.
And Facebook, as we know, is all about targeted advertising. That is the business model. And more, these European countries, but not an EU country. Although, yes, EU trade thing, but not EU union. It's so confusing. I wish they would just separate back out and be themselves again. Anyway, they don't like it.
Norway wants Facebook behavioral advertising banned across Europe. Just advertise to us. Don't look at what we're doing. Advertise on the website or the page or whatever it is. Don't follow somebody.
I think some Norwegians are about to get geo-fenced out of Facebook. Best thing that ever happened to them.
Is anyone mad about that?
Well, people are mad about this, even though it's kind of like, you did this to yourself because you created it. It's the person doing it. It's not the thing, but they can't help but rail against AI.
Users find that Facebook's new AI stickers can generate Elmo with a knife.
That's incredible. I'm not even angry.
Allow me to do a different version of that headline. Users find that Ginsu allows them to stab themselves in the eye with a knife.
Yeah. Broken bottles hurt. Don't do that.
I like the one where Mickey Mouse is strapped. He's like ready to go.
Well, they have, there's a plethora of great ones in here.
Lego sued over Lego on floor.
Mickey Mouse on the toilet.
After barefoot incident.
He's in the toilet on that one.
That's awful.
These are child soldiers.
Yeah.
Is that Darwin in a corset?
Karl Marx.
I mean, it's entertaining. I can see why people would create that.
Why does this knife allow me to stab myself in the eye? I don't understand.
And the social media has long, maybe not said it outright, but certainly led us to believe in some ways that our posts were not being used to train AI. They would never betray our trust like that.
Meta says that its AI trains on your Instagram posts.
This is such a good graphic.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it's a brain.
It turns out that they are actually using all of this information put in by humans to train an AI. Who would have guessed?
And it feels like they're saying that because now they want to back away from, oh no, we trained it all on literature and stuff like that. Because they're getting sued by the book publishers. No one wants AI to be trained on their data. So I guess they're going after saying it was trained on the people who were least likely to be able to fight them about it. Because you signed a terms of service. Well, you clicked the terms of service. It's the
Totally
same thing.
read them, though. Definitely read them.
And the Kia boys continue to just rage across our highways and cause untold disasters. And Kia and Hyundai say, yep, you know who's to blame? Definitely TikTok.
Kia and Hyundai blame TikTok and Instagram for their cars getting stolen. It could never have anything to do with them being poorly engineered.
Surely you could just, patch this issue instead of whining about it.
That would require a recall.
It's
Can't
like
be doing that.
buying a padlock and discovering that they all have the same combination. That's a problem for the lock manufacturer.
And yet, instead, it just becomes a problem for society.
What's that channel? It's the lockpicking lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are real excited about that content.
Yeah. I have a friend who was like, have you watched this? You have to watch it. And I haven't watched it yet.
It is a fun, like, the idea that you can just go in there and mechanically overcome that. It's satisfying.
Yeah. Like playing lockpicking IRL, like in Skyrim.
It turns out that most locks are not great, but there are some locks that are subpar. And then there are some locks that are so far below that, it's like the Kia and Hyundai problem.
How do you feel about the Starfield lockpicking? I don't like it.
I haven't
I haven't played.
I don't know that
Starfield.
I don't have a clear picture in my mind.
It's the concentric rings with
Oh,
slots in
yeah, I
them.
don't like it.
Yeah, it's not good.
I really liked the animation in Skyrim. Like the sound it made was really satisfying.
Skyrim did a good job with it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this episode. We will see you guys on Friday with Nonsense and
Nothing
AI.
but nonsense.
Bye.